is it a risk for the Utah Jazz to keep Donovan Mitchell? Jake, go.
No, I don't think it's a risk. I think that, obviously Donovan Mitchell is the foundation of the organization. I think, all these conversations about is it risky or is there somehow a downside to keeping Donovan Mitchell? No, there's not. I think furthermore, in the league, there are like a ton of players who are more risky than Donovan Mitchell. In fact, what I would say, I think it's more risky to sign Kevin Durant than it is Donovan Mitchell. I think Kevin Durant has shown to be a guy that will constantly leave. Donovan Mitchell hasn't said word one about leaving. Donovan Mitchell has not been a pain in your ass. Donovan Mitchell has not been an issue. And yet here we are talking about, hey, well, is it a risk to keep him? And that's what my problem is. I think, as usual, Donovan Mitchell is misunderstood, I feel like. Everybody just assumes that Donovan Mitchell wants to leave because he has been in New York and he's been working with Brickley and then he's been in Miami working with David Alexander, even though that's what he's done every single year. And so, I start to ask the question, what's better for Donovan Mitchell's legacy? What's more important for Donovan Mitchell's legacy? Would it be staying in Salt Lake City, making this work, being on the same team for a decade? Like some guys in the league, like your Damian Lillards and Steph Currys, and, obviously there's plenty of examples. Or would it be better for Donovan Mitchell to jump around and go to a different team? And, like, as an example, if he gets traded to the Knicks, then 3 years down the line when he's unhappy playing for a losing organization and a losing franchise, then he's going to want to move again. And now all of a sudden we're going to start calling this guy a ring chaser when he had no control over where he was going to be traded. He had no control over that situation. And so that's why I say the question shouldn't be, like, nationally or locally or really anywhere, is it a risk to keep Donovan Mitchell? I think Don has shown you nothing but, consistency and reliability as far as the organization is concerned. Does he have things he needs to work on? Absolutely. I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm not saying that somehow he's fully developed even. But what I am saying is Donovan Mitchell has never been a guy that's been a drama queen or cause issues in the locker room guy. That's Kyrie Irving. That's Kevin Durant. That's all these other guys. So that's why I say I don't think there's a downside to keeping him. But I just think that Don does not get the respect that I feel like he's warranted overall.
Well, and I think that Donovan hasn't earned that respect yet. I think that Donovan Mitchell, while you're right, I don't think Don's, certainly not a pain in the ass. He's not a locker room problem. Donovan Mitchell hasn't won. And frankly, Donovan Mitchell should have won more games. He should have played more games. He should have been in more games of consequence, but he hasn't been. And I think what comes with losing in the NBA is it damages, the way people perceive you. And there's only one way to overcome that, and that is to come out, play hard, and play well. And I think if you're Donovan Mitchell, I think you have to average 30 points a game out of the gate this year. And I think what we've seen from Don is that he is perfectly willing to do that. And I want to play this video so that everybody can see it, because I think it's incredibly important to see it, because I think Donovan Mitchell is working really hard. Donovan is in Miami. He is taking part in a lot of training camp style workouts. He's playing with a bunch of other players, Anthony Edwards, just a bunch of other guys, Bam Adebayo of note, also in these runs. But watch this video of Donovan Mitchell and then tell me that this guy isn't vastly improved. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And you look at what you see in that video. You see mid-range, you see easy, comfortable three-point shooting that has clearly improved. I just think the video we've seen of him defending Anthony Edwards, what is it that you see in that video that makes you feel like this guy's not on the verge of breaking out and being a superstar, Jake? I don't know what more Jazz fans could want from Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's working hard in the offseason. I think he's developing his game. And furthermore, like one step further, I think Donovan understands what's on the line from a career / like legacy perspective. He understands that, yeah, it didn't work out between him and Rudy and sort of that team. And so now he's got a fresh team, essentially. They've made a bunch of moves and brought in some guys and done some things. And Donovan understands that. And I think Donovan understands that when training camp gets here, he's got to roll up, in shape, ready to go, very sharp, like just all the way forward from day one, I think is what we're seeing out of Donovan Mitchell. Like, hey, I'm not going to show up to training camp needing to work on things. I'm going to show up to training camp ready to play, our first regular season game on day one of training camp, if that makes sense. So if you're a Utah Jazz fan, like I don't know what more you could be looking for. And when you look around the league, you notice you're not seeing video of Kyrie playing. You're not seeing video of Durant or Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum or like any of the other guys that are even are at Don's level or above Don's level. And that's why I'm saying, like, I think a lot of people want to kind of short Donovan Mitchell. They want to say, oh, well, he's undersized and he can't ever get to where these guys are at. And I just disagree. I think Don just has to get better. And I think we're seeing that process play out. So that's why I say if I'm a Utah Jazz fan, I'm not going to sit here and rip this guy. Like, yeah, could he have done some things differently maybe with the Rudy Gobert relationship? Yeah, sure, maybe. But at the end of the day, that's in the past. And now you're in a situation where you have, sources like ESPN saying that they're going to be a 26-win team, which I completely disagree with. You think Donovan Mitchell doesn't see that noise? You think Donovan Mitchell doesn't know that this team is just assumed to be a bad team this year because they traded Rudy and because it's kind of a new look? You think he doesn't know that? So that's why I say this guy's going to come out with a point to prove, and I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that he could be, lighting the league on fire for the first, 30, 40 games of the year, the first half. Like, I could totally see that.
Yeah, I think one of the things that is very clear is that Donovan Mitchell's a guy you want on your team. And I think one of the bigger questions is what happens to Donovan Mitchell if he, say, goes to the Knicks? Think about it in this light. If Donovan Mitchell leaves Salt Lake City, goes to New York, plays for the Knicks, does he become a better player with the Knicks than he is with the Jazz? I think there's a real chance he does because I think he clearly has a younger, more exuberant, core around him with the New York Knicks than he does with the Utah Jazz. And I think you look at guys like Mitchell Robinson, you look at guys like Jalen Brunson, you look at all these, Emmanuel Quickley, you look at all these guys, Quentin Grimes. They're all prototypical NBA players of what a player needs to be in 2023, 2024, 2025. Those guys all fit into what the NBA seems to be going to, which is fast-paced, three-point, run up and down the floor, play in transition. Like, that's fast, young, agile players that can play across multiple positions. I think that makes Donovan Mitchell a better player. I mean, I look at what he's got here in Utah, and I look at Mike Conley, and I say to myself, hey, is this a guy, is Mike Conley making Donovan Mitchell a better player? I don't know how you make that argument. I don't know how you make that argument because I don't think you can make that argument. Donovan Mitchell's not a better player with Mike Conley on the floor. Is Donovan Mitchell a better player because Mitchell Robinson's his center? I actually think he is a better player because Mitchell Robinson's his center. What does R.J. Barrett next to Donovan Mitchell look like? I think they're different players. I think they meld really well together. I think they're guys who fit into what teams ask them to do. I think there's a lot of reason if you're the New York Knicks to trade for Donovan Mitchell. But I will say this, if you trade Donovan Mitchell, I think you will regret it if you are the Utah Jazz. I think what you've seen from Donovan this offseason is a guy who hasn't said a whole lot. He's not a guy that's complained over his time here in Salt Lake City. I think the media here has been unbelievably negative towards Donovan Mitchell. For what reason, I have no idea what that agenda is about. But as far as I'm concerned, if you trade Donovan Mitchell, I think he goes on to the next location, wherever that is. Call it the Knicks, call it somewhere else, and he becomes an actual superstar. And it's one of those things that I think you have to be very weary of if you are a Utah Jazz fan, because I think you're asking for trouble if you trade him.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I think that everyone always when the Don trade rumors come up, what do we always hear? Oh, well, Gordon Hayward left, and Gordon Hayward and Gordon Hayward and Gordon Hayward. That's what we always hear about. And I'm telling you, this is totally different than the Gordon Hayward situation. Donovan Mitchell is already a better player than Gordon Hayward will ever be. With all due respect to Gordon Hayward, see what I did there? I worked in with all due respect. I just think that Donovan Mitchell has been better. I think that Donovan Mitchell has taken you further. Now, granted, that's not as far as you wanted to go, but I think, yeah, you would absolutely regret trading Donovan Mitchell, even if you got all these picks and players. And this is the thing that I think is so fascinating. Everyone wants to say, well, hey, let's trade this guy and let's get all these picks and players back. The issue I have with that concept is what you have in Donovan Mitchell, and odds are of where he's going. Like I think we can all say comfortably, hey, this guy is going to be an all-star every single year for the next 5 to 7 seasons. I think we can comfortably say that. And you don't know what you're going to get out of the draft ultimately. Everyone said Zion was going to be the best thing since sliced bread, and what has he been? The best thing that's hit the injury report every single year that he's been in the league.
Well,
that's my issue.
But listen, I also think that if we're talking about what does Donovan Mitchell bring to the table, I think injuries are part of that. I think a lack of defensive prowess has been part of that. Mm-hmm. I think at times effort on defense has been part of that. I don't think there's any problem questioning whether or not Donovan Mitchell's put in full effort on defense, because I don't think he has. But I also think a lot of the system that this Jazz team played, where they funnel everything into Rudy Gobert, plays a big part in that perceived effort of Donovan Mitchell defensively. So when we sit here and we look around and we take stock in what Donovan Mitchell is as a player, I also have to think you got to remember who was around him and what they were asking him to do. So all of that to say, yeah, I think it's a mistake to trade him. Let's get your thoughts in here as we talk Donovan Mitchell, and should the Jazz trade him? This new video that's out of more off-season workouts in this Miami pro run. I mean, he just looks like a better basketball player to me. Donovan looks fresh. He looks like a guy that is in far better shape than we have seen him in.
Yeah.
And he's never been in bad shape, or conditioning's never been lacking. He's had consistent trouble with his legs, whether that's the ankles, whether that's the quads, the thighs, whatever you want to say. Donovan Mitchell's had issues with his legs. Those issues seem to be gone now. Mm-hmm. And he has spent a lot of time with David Alexander. He has spent a lot of time playing basketball, and I can tell you, having covered him from his first day in this league, I don't ever remember Donovan Mitchell looking this good. Never. And he has looked good. Trust me. He has never looked this good.
Yeah, and I think your best point is he looks rested. That's the thing. His legs just look fresh, and that's the trouble. We've seen this with many different players. We saw it with Book. We've seen it with, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Everybody goes through it, this period in their career where it's their legs kind of have to catch up. And then, and I think specifically for Donovan, everything in the bubble and this whole process of not having a full off season and then playing a condensed schedule, that catches up to you when you're a basketball player. It just does. And so that's why you haven't seen guys like Kawhi Leonard as much. That's why you haven't seen Paul George as much. You haven't seen a lot of these nameplate players that you would typically see. So to me, it wouldn't be surprising if he rolled out really fresh and ready to go, coming off of an entire offseason, a full, regular, rested offseason. That, I think, is crucial for him.
Well, and I also think one of the things that really stands out to me is this is the kind of work that guys like Rudy Gobert need to be doing. And this is that comparison that we were all making the last 2 years on, hey, this guy versus that guy. Rudy Gobert right now is playing in the FIBA Euros. You look at Donovan Mitchell's spending his summer becoming a better NBA player.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much that is going to help Donovan Mitchell's growth and hurt Rudy Gobert's development as an offensive player. Maybe it doesn't matter anymore. Obviously, he's in Minnesota where he's not going to be asked to play a whole lot. It'll be interesting to see. Let's see. Prismac from Poland.
From Poland.
My kielbasa brethren.
Yes.
Says, hello, I'm first. Yes, you are. Congratulations. Neville93 says, good morning, my guys. I believe that keeping Mitchell will get us a championship. And ultimately, I think that's a question you have to ask yourself. If you do not trade Donovan Mitchell, do you win a championship? I would think that you have a good chance in the next 3 years of being at the top of the Western Conference and playing for an NBA Finals appearance if you keep Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
I do believe he's gonna score 30 points a game this year. I truly, I don't see any reason he would not. The three ball is coming easy. That mid-range game looks very, very good. It looks like it did in his earlier days. Like, the only question will be is, will he play defense? Will he be asked to play defense? Will he play prideful defense? Those are the only questions I think you have to ask. Kurt Meyer says, good morning. Kanai Johnson says, top of the morning, fellas.
Yeah.
What's up? M. Alvarez, Rudy Sanchez. Hullabilly says, morning, guys. I hope that Spida is on the Jazz roster this year. Only reason I'd trade him is if he has told management he doesn't want to be here. Well,
but he hasn't.
By all accounts, he is not. Ben Cinco says, good morning. I'm present again today, but earlier than usual. Okay, Ben Cinco. Ben Cinco, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Michael Arias says, worst podcast.
Okay.
Okay, well, we're not a podcast, so that's cool. We're happy to be a crappy podcast.
Sure.
You know, that's fine. Prismac from Poland says, where are the trades? How long must we be waiting? It's so boring. Well, I mean, I think September is going to be the month of trades in the NBA. I mean, I consistently hear they're just waiting. There's one more deal. There's I look at Mike Conley. I look at Bojan Bogdanovic.
Mm-hmm.
Bojan Bogdanovic could be a Laker or a Miami Heat today, right? I think the only team that I think has real interest in Mike Conley is the Dallas Mavericks. Other than that, I think there are teams who'd like to have him.
Yeah.
Nobody's given up a first-round pick for Mike Conley. Danny Ainge has asked repeatedly. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
They are not getting first-round. I'd be stunned. I don't know why you would give up a first-round pick for him. That's what Danny Ainge has asked for.
Especially after the season he had.
I don't see anybody doing that. I really don't see anybody doing that. Let's see. Connor Tooling, good morning, Connor, says the fact that that's what he does every year makes us think he wants to go there. The fact that he does what every year? I think when you look at, are you talking about Donovan Mitchell? He's from New York, so he goes to New York every year because he's from New York. So his dad works for the Mets. Give me a little more on that. Prismac says, my starting five are Vanderbilt, Mitchell, and Beverly for now. I don't see anybody on center or shooting forward. Well, I mean, I think if the season started today, you could say that.
Yeah.
But again, I just don't think with the Jazz you can make the argument that their roster's complete. I don't. I think there's probably 10 rosters around the NBA that are complete. I think everybody else is up in the air.
Yeah.
I think there will be significant. I think there could be as many as a dozen deals done in September.
Yeah.
I mean, it could legitimately reshape the NBA. And while those deals are probably not transformative, I mean, are we really heading for a holdout with Kevin Durant? Because that's, to me, that's a huge question.
Yeah.
Are we really heading for a holdout with Kevin Durant? That seems crazy.
But that's what
to
happens
me.
with these guys. I mean, that's what this type of behavior leads to, because you're not, in a sense, you're not acting in good faith, meaning that you signed a deal, you said you'd be there, and then you respectfully, you think you're above it. You think that you're Kevin Durant and you can just do whatever the hell you want. And so eventually enough of these type of situations pan out with James Harden and Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and enough of these happen and owners get tired of it. Owners are tired of signing guaranteed money to guys just to have them leave and put them in a position where they're not going to be successful from an organizational standpoint.
I also think this thing with Kevin Durant over the weekend, battling another fan on Twitter about his legacy. I don't understand this.
Yeah.
I don't know why he feels the need to do that. I don't know why Kevin Durant feels like he has to battle or argue over what his legacy is. Like, that's shocking to me that he is doing that. And I just think that Kevin Durant really cares what people think. And if I could reach Kevin Durant, I just would say to him, dude, at some point you've got to stop caring what people think about you, because it just doesn't matter. And that's one of the bigger issues with this Kevin Durant holdout situation is if you hold out on the Nets, man, I just think there's no way to argue that this is damaging you. Financially, it's damaging you. Reputation-wise, it's damaging you.
Right.
Respect-wise, Kevin, it's damaging you. Like, this argument that Kevin Durant had over the weekend saying that his legacy's never been stronger, I think that's just what you're saying. You can't possibly believe, Kevin, that that's the truth.
Yeah.
I can't believe that. I just can't see a place where Kevin Durant looks in the mirror and thinks that his legacy is as strong as it's ever been. I don't see how that's possible. Like, what are you doing, or what are you seeing, or what are you hearing where you think your legacy has never been stronger? You should have 4 rings right now, man.
Devery Davis with the Davis Lending Team, powered by Academy Mortgage. All right, first-time homebuyers, listen up. This one's for you. There's a huge misconception on how much it takes to buy a house. Is it 20%? Is it 10%? Is it 15%? The answer will surprise you. There's 4 mortgages in the United States. 2 of them require no down payment. 2 require very minimal down payment. Out of that down payment, there's lots of places to get it from. There's state funds, county funds, city funds, lots of ways to buy a house, no money down. When I was 18, I got out of high school, I actually bought a brand new house, no money down, never regretted it. If you have questions, give me a shout. Glad to walk you through it. Have a great one.
And you don't.
Yeah.
And you're a guy, Kevin, with all due respect, again, as we talked about, with all due respect, you haven't won as much as you should be winning. The idea that you could pass Kobe, that feels like it's gone now.
Yeah.
The idea that you can be 5, 6, 7 rings deep is gone now. That's Steph Curry. That's not Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
And for me, I think this idea that you would hold out on the Nets, it's a huge mistake. If that is truly what's going to happen, I will have lost a lot of respect for Kevin Durant. You committed, Kevin, to Brooklyn. It is you that they chose to build around. And now it is you that is choosing to screw the Nets. That's your fault. And I understand that the Nets have not handled things well. I understand that you don't like Steve Nash. I understand that you don't like Sean Marks. You chose to be there. You knew the rules when you played the game. And now you don't like the rules, so now you want to quit. Well, it doesn't work that way, my man. They built an entire franchise around you, and you're telling them that doesn't matter. You're telling them, hey, I don't have a problem with Kevin Durant saying he doesn't want to be there anymore. I don't have a problem with that. Fine. You want to go talk to the owner and get traded? I don't have a problem with that. Yes, needs to be in camp. I have a problem when you don't show up. That makes you Kyrie Irving. That's who you are. That's what your reputation is becoming.
Facts.
Because, frankly, you haven't been healthy enough. You haven't played enough games. You haven't won enough games. And I understand that it is the width of your toenail that kept you from winning a championship, probably. But you didn't win a championship, man. And that's the issue that I have. So when we talk about Kevin Durant's legacy and has the trade demand damaged KD's legacy, I don't see how it hasn't.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's why I say, like, you know, with everything you laid out, then where my head goes is like, all right, so if I'm Donovan Mitchell and I'm looking at this situation, I'm,
Whoa.
hello,
My bad.
hello. You know, we've restarted the show before.
Not today.
No, my mind just takes me to Donovan Mitchell, man. Like, hey, you're in a situation where all summer long you've been surrounded by, oh, is he going to get traded to the Knicks? The Knicks. He's in New York, he's in Miami. That's what the commenter said makes us think that he wants to be traded. Like, it's so ridiculous to me. The guy is from New York. He's in Miami every offseason. Like, every single offseason we've seen this. This is not new. And yet, what do we have? Oh, well, he wants to move. He wants to be traded. He must have asked for a trade. He's the reason that Rudy got traded. When none of that is true. Rudy Gobert got traded because he signed a contract that he wasn't worth, right? Rudy Gobert's not worth $41 million a year. That's got nothing to do with Donovan Mitchell. That's just the truth. What has to do with Donovan Mitchell is they didn't win. That's what has to do with Donovan Mitchell. And I think that Donovan Mitchell takes that thing personally. I think Donovan Mitchell knows that if he can take the Utah Jazz to the NBA Finals, it will completely change the trajectory of how people view him and the trajectory of his career and like how people respect him. But he's got to do that first. And that's why I say we should not just assume that guys ask for trades all the time. You shouldn't put Donovan Mitchell in the same bucket as anybody else until he asks for a trade publicly, until he demands that trade publicly to a point where he's going to sit out and do what, guys like Ben Simmons or Kyrie or any of these guys have done. And that's what I'm saying. Don't take him for granted. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that I would say before we get to your comments on Kevin Durant. I think Kevin Durant is still the best player in the world. Mm-hmm. There's nothing that's going to change my mind on that. I think that he is better than LeBron James. I'd rather have Kevin Durant than LeBron James. I'd rather build a franchise around Kevin Durant than LeBron James. I think KD's better than Luka. I think he's better than, pick your poison. There's not a player in the NBA I'm taking over Kevin Durant. Having said that, if he holds out, I will completely change my opinion on that. I think if Kevin Durant holds out, he's dead to me. I have zero respect for that. You signed a contract. You were happy to sign that contract and get paid. Show up. Show up. Is it hard to show up for you? I'm sure it is. Do hard better. Do hard better. Right? I understand. Are you happy being there? No. But you're a professional. Professionals show up and get paid to play basketball. So show up and get paid to play basketball.
That's every day.
You have to do that. And Kevin Durant, again, and not to rail on this, you made an agreement. You signed a contract. Show up and play the game. Show up and play the game. Lying about your commitment when you sign that contract, if you don't show up to camp, you lied. If you don't show up to camp, we can't believe your word. If you don't show up to camp, you're nothing but a ring-chasing fool with no legacy at all. That's the bottom line on Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
If he doesn't show up for camp, I have lost all respect for him. Not that Kevin Durant cares if I respect him or not. Because I guarantee you he don't.
But I think it's a conversation. I'm sure we're going to read these comments right now. I'm sure I wouldn't be surprised if we had people saying, yeah, man, this guy is just a ring chaser who never really won on his own. Because that's the thing. That's the real crux of it for KD. He's never really won in his situation. You had to go to Steph's situation to win. That's the problem that he faces right now.
Yeah, let's see. Steve Peterson says, hi, everybody. Steve, with all due respect, you've missed a lot of with all due respects already.
Yeah.
Come on, let's go.
Come on, bro.
Let's go. Tamel Lucas says, delusional. Spida hates Utah. He wants out.
Based on what?
Okay, okay. So, Tamel, I'm going to give you an opportunity to back that up because it's baseless. There's nothing that he has never said that. He's never acted that way. His agents never said that. His family's never said that. The Jazz have never said he said that. That is all conjecture and speculation. Tamel, you want to come in and make ridiculous statements? Back it up. There is nothing that you can say to back that up. Nothing. Joe Kerr says the Jazz didn't get anything on the level of Darren Williams when they traded him. Just a washed all-star and 3 players. Could have been. Yeah,
but I think his point there is that that's the issue with trading Don. Is that you're trading away this talent that's clearly developing, clearly getting better for draft picks and some players.
Well, that's why you get a haul of draft picks. That's why you don't make this trade without Quentin Grimes.
Yeah.
If it's the Nick deal we're talking about. Mike Maples, good morning too. He says, Durant's not just saying that to the Nets. He's saying it to every potential trade partner, lowering his value. Don is showing his high price tag by being an adult and focusing on himself. Yeah, that's true.
Facts.
Yeah,
I would agree with that. I would absolutely agree with that. Let's see. Sean Cardon says Giannis is the best player in the league. Well, see, the problem is I think Giannis is a difficult guy to defend. There's no doubt about that. He's shown the ability. I still don't think he shoots the three as well as as he will or probably is capable of. The thing that's transformed his game is the mid-range game. He now has a fadeaway jumper. He has a baseline jumper. He's got a free throw line jumper. Like, now you can't just expect him to bull rush. Kevin Durant is the unstoppable player in the NBA. He can go by you. He can shoot the three. He can shoot the mid-range. He can hezzy. He can handle. He can dunk on you. He is a pretty good defender when he's applying it. Like, I think Kevin Durant has the best arsenal in the NBA. It's easy for him from any distance.
Yeah.
From any. The problem with Giannis is, and the reason that Kevin's a better scorer than Giannis, is that Giannis has to effort three-pointers. Kevin Durant's go-to is the three-pointer. I mean, it's easy for him. So that's why I would say that. Let's see. Spurs 5-time champion says Giannis is better, LMAO. Well, how is he better? He's not a better, in my opinion, he's certainly not a better shooter than Kevin Durant. He's not a better finisher than Kevin Durant. I mean, everybody in this league can dunk, so is it really spectacular that he can dunk? If we were judging people by dunking ability, Rudy Gobert would win the MVP every year.
Yeah.
But we're not. Like, you have to be an all-around player. And I think that there's no doubt Giannis has improved dramatically. I mean, his mid-range, that turnaround jumper on the low block is unstoppable. So he has absolutely grown. But if the game's on the line, who do you want to have the ball in their hand? Kevin Durant or Giannis? Yeah. I'm taking Kevin Durant every single time. I don't even think it's a conversation.
Facts.
I mean, especially if we're in a situation where you're in the clutch and you're at a dwindling clock, I'm taking Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. Tamel Lucas says ballers don't like Utah and players view Ainge as a snake. They don't view Ainge as a snake.
See,
no former player has said Danny Ainge is a snake.
Yeah.
Like, these are all fake made-up narratives. Like, these ballers don't like Utah. Well, okay, let's assume that's true. It's not up to them. It's not up to them. Yeah. You mark my words. The collective bargaining agreement is absolutely going to change the face of player movement in the NBA. The process for player movement in the NBA is going to completely be overhauled in the next CBA. And by the way, it's been said to me more than once by NBA front office people, we're going to have a lockout.
Yeah.
We are going to have a work stoppage in the NBA because they are not going to continue to let guys like Kevin Durant dictate movement in this league because he is holding the Nets hostage, and there's nothing the Nets can do about it.
Yeah, and the problem is the league just sits still. That's the issue, is now that Kevin's doing this, we've been sitting still. We had a comment earlier that said, where are all the trades? When is something going to happen? That's what the league doesn't want to be the case. And I just think it needs to be said, because I know we get a lot of new listeners. I've been a KD guy since he played at Texas. I say it all the time. Loved his game. You know, as soon as I saw him, first time I ever saw him, he was on ESPN playing Oklahoma. That was the first time I ever saw him. And since then, I've been following him. And this is the first time, really, the last, 6-8 weeks where I can say, yeah, man, this is a frustrating time to be a Kevin Durant admirer or follower, because he just is not doing what I would expect him to do, which is, hey, stick it out. Because that's really what, when I think about this, what kind of comes to mind. All the players that stuck out their situations, all the players that played through the BS, like as an example, LeBron with the Lakers. What happens if LeBron James goes out and wins a championship this year? What then will be said about last year, and what then will be said about LeBron's legacy at this point if he wins a championship this coming season? Now, the odds of that, I know, are low. Probably not going to happen, right? I can get down with that. Totally agree. But what if he did? That completely changes everything, and that's why I would say to Kevin Durant, that's why I would say to Donovan Mitchell, get better, keep improving, stick it out. Stay the course, because then, as you said, when you do hard better, people are going to give you more credit, and that's what I think needs to happen.
JP Shanahan, you're starting to weird me out with this.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Monty Show where Jake is my son. That's weird, dude.
Yeah, dude.
You're starting to get weird with it. And JP, I love you being here, man, but it's a little weird at this point that you are so fixated on our relationship that everything you comment is about that. That is super weird to me. Robert Lambert says Don looks very good.
Mm-hmm.
Sean Carden again says Giannis is the best player in the league. And maybe this is the bait. Caleb says Giannis has to be a close second. I think he is. I actually think it's Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and a host of other guys. The issue becomes in this league, can you give Giannis Antetokounmpo the ball with the game on the line? Is he the best option on his team when the game is on the line? Chris Middleton's a better option. Chris Middleton is a pure shooter, and you're not getting to the rim with the game on the line. You're not. Teams are not going to allow that to happen. And by the way, I mean, I can pull his numbers up. Like he is to me a guy that has a hiccup at the free throw line as well. And I'm not entirely confident. He's a 72% free throw shooter last year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not entirely confident in his free throw shooting. So I look at it's very much like quarterbacks. And I always say about quarterbacks, and this is why I wouldn't pay Lamar Jackson, who we're going to talk about in a bit. At some point, the quarterback's got to stand in the pocket and deliver a pass to win a game. Right? So can Lamar Jackson do that? Not confidently. If I've got to give Giannis the ball, let's say 7 seconds, full court 7 seconds, is he your best option? If I've got Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and Giannis to pick from those three, let's just say, I'm not even considering Giannis. I'm considering Devin Booker before Giannis with the game on the line. I'm considering Chris Paul. I'm considering the best mid-range players. I'm considering Luka Doncic before I am considering Giannis.
Yeah, I think the tough part, and I don't disagree, like game on the line, you need a mid-range assassin. There's no doubt about that. But at the same time, I think the tough part is that Giannis is capable, like literally is capable of giving you 35 and 10 in a postseason game and looking really dominant doing it. And you just said 2 minutes ago that Giannis is really difficult to defend. He is difficult to defend.
He is.
And this is where
Absolutely.
I think this conversation just comes down to opinions and preferences. Person A will tell you, hey, look at the stats. The stats are better, stat sheet guy. Person B will tell you, hey, he's more dominant. He's won a championship on his own. Well, not on his own, but like in Milwaukee with his first team. Like he's not a team hopper guy, and I think he deserves a lot of credit for that. But I have to say, with the game on the line, yeah, I want more Kobe-esque player than Shaq-esque player, which is what I feel like Giannis is. Giannis is a power, play football in the paint guy before he's a, hey, I'm just going to finesse you and shoot over you guy. And that's the difference. So I think it's an impossible conversation to have because Giannis is not the best player for a clutch situation, but Giannis is one of the best players in a postseason game. There's no denying that. So that's why I say it depends on what you prefer. For me, yeah, if it's LeBron, KD, and Giannis, I'm taking Kevin Durant. It's not even a conversation. I think he's shown us time and again that he is clutch, just this past year.
Still all the way around, I'm taking KD over Giannis.
So you're just saying all around, not even in clutch.
In the clutch, all-around player. Like the only thing that you can really say that Giannis is better than Kevin Durant in is defense. It's unquestionable. I mean, I can make the argument Giannis is the best defensive player in the world.
Yeah.
I'm still not taking him as the best all-around player in the NBA because this is a scorer's league. The best offense is always going to beat the best defense because I'm telling you now, if you have Giannis and KD head-to-head, one-on-one, Kevin Durant's going to find a way to get the ball to the rim. I mean, it's that simple. Whether that's a jumper, is that a fadeaway, is that a drive, is that a hezzy, is that a handle? And by the way, the league doesn't work like that. They're going to screen and roll and pick and pop Giannis out of that defensive set. Like the switches in this league. That's why I say, like, you understand what the league is. That's why I make the argument that I make. Let's see. A lot of people commenting. Deborah Pavallo.
What's up, Deb?
Scale of 1 to 10. What's the chance Donovan Mitchell playing for the Jazz once? Why do people care about Donovan in free agency? He's got 3 full seasons left.
Another narrative not created by Donovan Mitchell.
Who cares? Who cares? And with all due respect, Deborah.
Hey.
Who cares?
With all due respect.
Like, who cares? Like, that's the thing that I'm trying to figure out. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, It's one of the dumbest questions I've ever heard asked in the media ever. Well, in 17 years, Donovan's going to take a dump. We better go buy toilet paper now. Like, what? Who cares what happens?
Next question.
Do you understand that in dog years, like 3 years is a decade?
Dude, 3 years in NBA time is a really, really long time, man. Like a long time.
I have no idea. This roster, this team, this organization is going to be completely different in 3 years. Like woosah. Neville 93. I think we should go for Kevin Durant and bring him to Utah. Well, I've been saying that for a week.
Yeah, well, and I think that's one of the things that was really interesting. We actually had last week, and again, beauty of YouTube, you can go back and listen to it, but we had a heated debate over whether it was worth it or not for the Utah Jazz to go after KD. The only thing that really brings me hesitation is this situation he finds himself in Brooklyn. I do not want the Utah Jazz to be in that situation. I don't think it's worth their time. I don't think that it's worth the risk, to be honest with you. But if Danny Ainge, as an example, can find a way to get Kevin Durant in a situation where he knows he's going to play 3 full seasons for the Jazz, then yeah, it's probably worth your time. Then you're probably making an NBA Finals appearance. Like, it is worth it. But this garbage about like 2 seasons and hey, I want out, that's not going to fly anymore, especially for teams like the Jazz.
Yep. Sean Carden says Giannis can score at will and is a way better player. M. Alvarez says, I said it before, if we talk like DM is leaving when his contract is up, he's most likely leaving. We as fans need to show up and keep showing him love so he'll stay. I don't think fans with – how do I say this gently? Fans don't matter. Donovan Mitchell's not going to make a financial decision based on a fan base.
Yeah.
He's not. You don't matter. Yeah. I would encourage you to show up no matter what. I'm a big believer that the best fan bases show up when the team sucks. I mean, Wrigley Field is full every day because Cub fans are passionate about baseball. Show up. Show up. That's what I would tell you.
Yeah.
Holabilly, spot on, guys. If you commit to something, you got to go all in on your commitment. If not for yourself, for the people who are relying on you, the team, your family, people need accountability. Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Tamel says the fact that he hasn't publicly backed Utah says it all. Okay, so Donovan Mitchell's done a bunch of interviews, right? And he hasn't backed Utah in any of those interviews. He hasn't done a single interview. He hasn't said a single word. And we on our own have asked for him probably 20 times this summer. And he's not said a single word. So where is it that he's said, I don't want to be in Utah? Where is it that anything he's done is different this year than last year? Because, frankly, this year he has worked harder than he did last year.
Yeah.
This year he has added to his bag. This year he has strengthened his legs. There's nothing that Donovan Mitchell has done to indicate he doesn't want to play for the Jazz. He has not done a single interview. Not one interview.
Yeah, and I think what people are doing is they're just assuming because he plays for the Utah Jazz that means that he doesn't want to be in Utah, that's just not, I don't think it's right to do that. You can't assume one way or the other if we're being completely real about it.
Yeah, I don't know. Big Dog O-Town gives us a $10 tip. Good morning, Big Dog. Good to see you.
Shout out to Mobamba.
Thank you. What relationship does the commenter have with the Gangsta D that he knows players hate him? He is projecting his own hate on Danny, deflecting it on players. Come on, man.
Yeah, man. I completely agree with that. I think that people like that one commenter just in general. Like, I think, 2 weeks ago we had probably 500, maybe 600 Knicks fans consistently watching the channel. And what we got a lot of hey, Don wants to leave. It's Utah. Of course he doesn't want to play there. That's a narrative we see all the time. And I just don't think it's true. I think NBA players, while they care where they play, what they ultimately care about is having a sense of control over their situation. That's what I think players care about.
I think the money is almost irrelevant. Now with the way that contracts are structured, hey, if you do this on the floor, you have access to more money. Hey, if you do this on the floor, you have access to more freedom.
Yeah.
The money handles itself. Guys want to win. That's what they want. And that's why I say, when the Miller family sold this club and you have Ryan Smith, a tech billionaire, buying it, and you have Danny Ainge being hired by the tech billionaire to run it, you know that they're serious about winning a championship. If Donovan Mitchell in the next 3 years wins a championship or plays in the NBA Finals or, is on an elite team that is pushing for an NBA Finals appearance, all this money stuff and free agency stuff handles itself.
Mm-hmm.
It does. My guess is Donovan Mitchell just wants to win. You know why I guess that? Because that's what he said. I want to win. That's what his actions have told me. I want to win. He is working on his game. He is working on his body. He's spending millions of dollars on his body right now. Millions of dollars. Because if you go back several years, right before LeBron went to Cleveland to win that championship, what did he start doing? He started investing heavily in his body because he injured his back. And so he said, I'm spending millions of dollars on my body with David Alexander. Who does Donovan Mitchell pay for his body work? David Alexander. He's got the best body guy in the world, and that guy's in Miami, and he goes to Miami, and he was like, oh, he wants to play in Miami. He's going to Miami. Well, his body guy's in Miami. Well, he wants to play for New York. He's in New York. Well, he's from New York. Like, you have no idea because the guy hasn't said 2 words.
Yeah.
And he's not gonna until training camp would be my guess. That's my guess. Alex Chacon says, if we keep Don, build around him, and start winning, there's absolutely no reason he doesn't re-sign with us when he becomes a free agent.
Yeah.
Who cares? I'm just going to keep saying that. Every time, this is why I hate the media in Salt Lake City. Because now it's, well, he doesn't want to be here, he's going to walk in 3 years. Who cares? Honest to God, do you really care what happens after 3 more seasons? 3 full seasons have to go by before he can walk away. Do you care what happens after 3 full seasons right now here today? I don't care. Generations will change. History will be written. Legacies will be made. Legacies will be washed within the next 3 years. Ask me in 3 years.
Yeah.
The media in Salt Lake City is so bad. It's so bad. Zero accountability. Zero, this make-up stuff so that we can have something to talk about thing. Why? And then you as a consumer, you buy into it. Why are you reading the Salt Lake Tribune? Why? Why are you doing that? You're throwing your money down the drain. Stop subscribing to the Tribune, subscribe to The Athletic. It's that simple.
Yeah.
As a sports fan, why would you read the Salt Lake Tribune? There is zero reason to read it. I'm telling you, read the Deseret News, read The Athletic. There's nothing of value. Nothing of value in the Salt Lake Tribune. Zero. Nada. This whole, hey, in 3 years thing is so incredibly uneducated, short-sighted, and stupid.
Are we clear on that?
And yet fans have the hook has been sunk and you're all in on it head first. I don't get it. I truly just don't understand it.
Yeah.
Down, up, down. No, I am not doing burpees. Says Giannis plays basketball like it's football, just runs through everybody with his shoulders out and his head down. A lot of his game used to be that.
Yeah.
But that's another guy putting in work on his shot. My guess is that Giannis is going to come back a better, more capable shooter than he was last season because he's a workaholic.
Yeah.
We've seen tape on him working.
Yeah.
He's a workaholic, man.
Yeah, and
the guy is.
There's 2 types of NBA players, right? You've got the guy who it's like the classic Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell comparison, I guess, where Don's working his ass off in the summer and Rudy's playing Euros. It's just very clear.
James Knight, good morning to you or evening to you in Australia. Says, how did Luka Doncic in the clutch taste come out of your mouth, Monty? What do you mean? What does that mean? I don't know what you mean by that. Yeah. Spurs 5 times champion said, what did KD average in the first round this year? Who cares? What has that got to do with anything? He was a man on his own. What has that got to do with anything? Tatum outplayed KD in the playoffs. KD got some health issues. I think Boston was by far the best team in the East this year. Defensively, they were the best team in the NBA. Kevin Durant was literally standing there on his own.
You realize Kevin Durant was playing. I mean, there were times in the Milwaukee series where he was playing like 55 minutes in one game. You realize that, right? Like the guy wasn't sitting down, wasn't getting rest. Like he was like running himself through the ringer. So That's why I say, like, I just think it's not even a conversation. Like, Kevin Durant was on his own last year, and that's just how it was. Yeah. Did he get it? Did the Celtics give him a lot of trouble? Absolutely. This is what I say about Don. It's the same thing. Don didn't have any help, so he had trouble with the defense because they were doubling him constantly. What do you think Kevin dealt with? Doubles and triples all the time. That's why it was a struggle.
And he averaged 26 points a game doing it. Like, are we really criticizing Kevin Durant because Brooklyn got swept, I think, by Boston? Is that really Kevin Durant's fault? Is that really when he's playing 45 minutes a night?
45 minutes, bro.
In a playoff series against Boston, the best defensive team. We're going to come into the comments and criticize Kevin Durant for that. Oh, yeah, what a scrub. 26 points a game in 45 minutes playing by himself. What a joke.
Yeah.
He sucks. What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? Let's see. Top Junkie says, you guys better watch video of Giannis that was posted last week showing the time he's putting in on his three-point shooting. Well, he's got to. But
dude, we
Ben
just said
Simmons,
he was working out, dude.
Yeah, and Ben Simmons puts up videos of himself shooting threes. Like,
Again, it's what you do in the clutch. Like when you need to make that game winner or when your team really needs you, what do you do? Now, again, I want to keep saying it because it needs to be said. I have no problem saying Giannis is capable of giving you 35 and 10, like 4 or 5 postseason games in a row.
Yes.
I have no problem saying that. But when we talk about who do I want when the game's on the line, who do I want when I'm in a game 7 and I need that 40 and 40, 40 points, 10 boards, 10 dimes, like I still probably would go KD. The guy gave the Celtics a lot of trouble. They had to push 3 guys to him to stop him. Do we realize that? Like 3 full defensive players to stop him, and we're going to sit here and say that somehow Giannis is better. Yes, Giannis is elite. Giannis is
fantastic.
Like top, like no doubt about it, top 3. I think it's disrespectful to say he's top 5. He is top 3 in the league right now. What I think is more of a crying shame is Steph Curry consistently gets left out of the top 3 conversation, yet he's never left his team. He's won championships, and he won before, during, and after Kevin.
One of the best NBA Finals performances ever in Game 4.
Come on, man. Like, he did more against that Boston team than Kevin did, and we're not talking about Steph. So that's why I say this is a matter of opinion, whether we're talking about Don or any of these other guys.
Well, and that's one of the greatest parts of sports is that we all can, Jazz fans crack me every day for having this Jordan poster on the wall. Was it a push-off or not? I don't think it was.
Was there a whistle?
No, there wasn't. The difference of opinion, the problem with difference of opinion is when it goes too far.
Yeah.
And that, it's like, come on. Ro Wiz says, who gets talked about, whose game gets watched, who y'all love to demote but gets you clicks. He's the best racist.
What are you talking about?
Man, it's Monday.
Like, what are you even talking about?
Put down the ayahuasca. The weekend's over.
Like,
Kenai Johnson, as we sit here and talk about Donovan Mitchell, Kevin Durant, talking all things NBA here on the Monty Show. Kenai Johnson says, all I know is that Jazz got Don for 3 years, maybe 4, until we hit that wall. Let's focus on the now rather than the later.
That's what I'm saying,
to that.
Dude. Like, you've got a guy who's an all-star and is going to push to be a definitive top 10 player. Like I think you would say that Don's a top 10 player right now, right? Is that accurate? You think he's top 10 right now? I mean, I think it's close, right? Like, for me, it's close. I think some people would tell you he's top 15. Other people would tell you he's top 10. All I'm saying is,
he's top 10. I would say he's top 10. I mean, Donovan Mitchell is top 10. I think this year he's going to be top 5. I think he's going to score 30 points a game.
Yeah.
Right now, today, I would say he's top 10. Booker,
we're worried about 3 years from now.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
And I think he's on that Booker trajectory.
Yeah.
Where you had to face a lot of adversity. Well, Don's in that window where he's facing that adversity now. And now it's time to put up or shut up. And I think you can see very clearly his body looks really good.
Yeah.
It looks really, really good. So I would be excited about that. Mr. E, good morning to you. Says, if Ainge brings KD to Utah, he's already the executive of the year before the season starts. This conversation is based on what we talked about last week.
Yeah.
Should Danny Ainge call Brooklyn and say, what's it going to take? And I would say absolutely yes, he should. I would trade all those draft picks. I would trade Young's to have Kevin Durant and Donovan Mitchell on the same roster. You're going to compete for the top of the Western Conference. And the West is really good. I think you could be a top 5 team. The thing that nobody wants to talk about is this roster is really offensively gifted.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to stop anybody. But this team's going to score 110, 115 points a night. No doubt about that. I mean, when you look at what they have, and depending on what they get for Bogdanovich, depending on what they get for Patrick Beverley, because I do believe, and again, I could just go based on what I've been told, which is repeatedly by Jazz sources, that they have a deal in place for Pat Bev, and they have multiple teams, Miami and the Lakers mainly, that would be happy to acquire Bojan Bogdanović today. I think the one guy that they don't have a deal for right now is Mike Conley, because Danny wants a first-round pick for Conley, which I don't think he's going to get. I think Dallas would happily give him a second-round pick and a player for Mike Conley, which I think you should do. The problem is you're going to have to make that money work. I mean, Mike's making a pretty good chunk of change. So you're going to have to figure out what's on that roster that you want. But I think that there's no doubt in my mind that this roster is going to score points. It's a matter of what trades will Danny make to improve the defense of this team. And again, who are you married to at the bottom of this roster? I'm not an Azubuike guy. I would love to see Jared Butler get a whole hundo P chance to show he belongs here. Show me. I would love to see Will Hardy have the cojones to be like, all right, you're going to start every preseason game, and you're going to start every game from right now going forward until you show me you don't belong here. I would love to have him sit Butler down and say, do you want to be a star in this league or not? Because I got to be honest with you, he showed up to camp and the Jazz were wondering what kind of shape Jared Butler was in.
Which is a huge problem for Jared Butler.
Because he was not in great shape. And by the way, that's another guy we've asked for to come on the show. And his agent is not been very willing to put him on the show. You know. We're going to continue to ask for that. So,
but I think that's a really interesting point. Not to cut you off, but like, how many of these guys are we going to ask for? And again, hey, we're a YouTube show, totally get it.
No, we're the hacks on YouTube.
Oh, my bad. With all due respect, right? We're the hacks on YouTube. But my point just is we're not the only ones that are saying no to. Like, if you just take kind of stock of like, how, the guys that are around and not around, there's not very many guys around right now. And that's what's really interesting to me when we talk about like the Utah Jazz and the media and like the dynamic and how it all plays together. It's not like they're going on every other show in the city and they're just saying no to us, which hey, look, okay, I get it, but they're not going anywhere. They're not doing any availability, and that's my biggest problem. Like, again, if I was Jared Butler, I'd be working my ass off to say like, yeah, hey, I made a mistake, or like I just wasn't quite where, with my game the way I wanted to be, but now I have an opportunity and I have something to prove.
Yep, this hour of the show presented by Devery Davis and Academy Mortgage. Hey, today is National Financial Planning Awareness Are You Broke Month. Is that what today is?
Yeah.
National Financial Awareness Day in our country. Real estate plays a huge part of that. And one of the things I always say about our guy, Devery Davis, is if you want to buy a house, Devery Davis has a plan for you.
Devery Davis with the Davis Lending Team, powered by Academy Mortgage. All right, first-time homebuyers, listen up. This one's for you. There's a huge misconception on how much it takes to buy a house. Is it 20%? Is it 10%? Is it 15%? The answer will surprise you. There's 4 mortgages in the United States. 2 of them require no down payment. 2 require very minimal down payment. Out of that down payment, there's lots of places to get it from. There's state funds, county funds, city funds, lots of ways to buy a house, no money down. When I was 18, I got out of high school. I actually bought a brand new house, no money down. Never regretted it. If you have questions, give me a shout. Glad to walk you through it. Have a great one.
There you go. Devery Davis at Academy Mortgage, 801-543-9666. And I've heard from quite a few listeners who have called Devery. It's just a good experience. Like, Devery Davis is a good dude. And he's a guy that I tell you every day on this show, he makes your dreams come true. And I know a lot of people that want to buy a house that are saying to themselves, I can't afford it. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And granted, you're not going to buy a house with 500 credit. If you're in a position today where you're like, man, I wonder if I apply for a loan, if I could get approved. Call Devery and ask him. He'll tell you. Hey, I don't have any money for a down payment. I can't buy a house. Call Devery Davis. He'll give you a down payment program, right? Like when you're a first-time buyer, if you're a millennial, if you're wondering, if you're asking yourself these questions, can I, if I, would I, might I? Call Devery Davis, 801-543-9666. NMLS number 278-545. Devery Davis and Academy Mortgage are equal housing lenders. Talking about the risk of the Utah Jazz keeping Donovan Mitchell. And how much of a risk is that?
Bless you, sir.
Hey now, I've been fighting that for a good
go.
5 minutes. Thank you.
Yes.
I don't think there's a lot of risk in keeping him. I really don't. Obviously, the risk is, well, if you keep him, what's going to happen to the club? Well, if you keep him, I think you're a playoff team.
Oh, yeah. What do you mean what's going to happen to the club? Like, my question with this was, is there any risk at all? Like, legit. And I'm not trying to be naive. Is there any risk in keeping Donovan Mitchell? Okay. If you go through it, some people might say, well, yeah, I mean, the risk is that he's, you're going to keep the guy on the team for the remainder of this contract and he's going to walk in free agency. Okay,
Yep.
well, as we've gone over on the show this morning, I'm not really concerned with what's going to happen in 3 years when the contract's up yet. What is that, 3.5 full years? Like, I'm talking calendar years from today. That's really far away. So if you cross that one off, put that on the back burner. The only other risk I could potentially see is that you keep him and you invest in him and he's just not quite good enough to get you to the promised land, which would be the NBA Finals. If you get to the NBA Finals and lose, I still think you can say, hey, it was worth it. We made the right decision. We just came up short. This is like what happened in Phoenix, right? Hey, we got to the NBA Finals. We lost. This past season, we got embarrassed out of the playoffs by Luka. Like, hey, that's what happens. So that's why I say I'm not too sure there actually is any risk in keeping Donovan Mitchell.
I don't think there is either, and I just listen to or read all these comments, and, I think one of the biggest situations for me anyway is that you've got to make a decision on direction. And I think this situation with the Knicks is a perfect example of it. I think it's one of those deals where I think the Knicks just don't want to meet the asking price. Mm-hmm. And frankly, I don't have a problem with that. If I'm a Knicks fan, I'm thrilled with the way this has gone down. Do you want Donovan Mitchell? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the guy is a wonderfully talented basketball player. I'm not giving up 6 first-round picks to get him. I'm not. Man. If I'm the Knicks, I'm calling on Kevin Durant. Because I actually think this is one of the few situations where you're going to have a player traded across the hall or across the country. I don't think the Nets care where it comes from. I think Joe Tsai doesn't care where he sends Kevin Durant. Mm-hmm. If he had his druthers, I think he'd send him out west. I think he'd send him to Houston. I think he'd send him to Orlando even. 2 of the worst teams in the NBA. Do him no favors.
Pack your shit. Let's go.
Yeah, I think that's the way that they view Kevin Durant at this point. Now, I could be wrong about that.
But
I
even if they do, I don't blame them. I mean, how
I
don't
blame Joe Tsai at all.
Yeah.
This conversation with Kevin Durant, and the thing that I find so interesting is this idea that Kevin Durant now could hold out.
Mm-hmm.
I would just lose so much respect for him. I can't believe that Kevin Durant's going to hold out.
Never.
He's never been that guy, right? He's never been holdout guy.
Can't believe it.
He's never been holdout guy, to his credit, but this is the first time he's really been in this situation. This is the first time we've seen Kevin in a big time, I don't want to be here type contract dispute. And I don't know. Like, I think one of my biggest issues is the reason for it. That's what I think is troubling people. Kevin is saying the reason he doesn't want to be there is because of Steve Nash and that front office. Like, it's just a weird thing. Why do you have an issue with those guys after they went out and brought in your boy, right? They brought in Kyrie. They brought in James. And then when it didn't work out with James Harden and Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, what did they do? They went one step further and traded James Harden for you.
How many guys want to be on a team where they're willing to pay tens of millions of dollars in luxury tax to win?
Yeah.
Like, they went and got James Harden, Kyrie Irving, like,
and
they went out of their way. Blake Griffin, Andre Drummond,
Mike James.
Like, they make the effort repeatedly to win. How many guys would love to be in that situation where their team is selling out? This is what I say about the Lakers. Hey, you don't have to like the Lakers, but they tried everything they could try to win. Right? They went in, and now, did it work? No, it was terrible. Did it work in Brooklyn? No, it was terrible.
Some shit happened.
But they made the effort,
yes,
man.
Yes, they did.
Like, how many fans of teams don't even care about the NBA playoffs because it's not like their team's going to be there?
The Orlando Magic.
Yeah, look at the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks went and got DeJounte Murray.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to win. And then there's me, the Chicago Bulls fan.
I'm screwed.
Maybe our owner will get hit by a bullet train. I don't know.
Well said.
All I'm saying is I would love to be in a position that Brooklyn's in. I'd love to be in a position that Atlanta's in.
Yes.
That the Lakers are in. Because I know that my team wants to win. Are they good at it? Probably not. Probably not. But at least they're making the effort, right?
Yeah.
Down, up, down. Say, you need to change your name, dude. Burpees give me like trauma. Knicks are one of the teams that Joe Tsai will never send KD to, regardless of the offer. The Nets and the Knicks don't do business together. Never have, never will. Okay. Have the Giants and the Dodgers made trades? Yep. How about the Lakers and the Clippers? Yes. Cubs and the White Sox? Yes. Don't be so surprised, because I know that Leon's called. I've been told by multiple people Leon is called.
So get your facts straight.
You know. Arel on Israel says Spida is teaming up with RJ in New York. RJ will be the most improved player next season. His all-star season. RJ averaged 23 points a game the last 40 games. Could be. I just don't see that deal happens.
No.
I not right now. I think as it's been described to me that the Jazz have not come off of their demand for 6 first-round picks in Quentin Grimes. And I think that it very clearly Leon's, as I reported 2 weeks ago, pulled Quentin Grimes out of that deal.
Yeah, Donovan, in my opinion, I don't think Donovan is going anywhere until the Durant deal works itself out, because now there's no question, whether you believe it or not, doesn't matter to me. There's no question the Knicks are involved. We have plenty of good quality information coming in that tells us the Knicks are involved. They have made the calls. They're very interested. So whether it's the Knicks, whether it's Boston, whether it's a team out west, to me, Donovan is not going anywhere until that Durant situation gets resolved, because the only team that could pony up the assets to get him is now involved in the Durant situation. So,
and you're really telling me Joe Tsai is going to send Kevin Durant to the Boston Celtics before he'd send him to the Knicks? That's
just to have
crazy.
him come back into Barclays, 100 days later?
With a championship, with like a championship caliber team.
Yeah.
Because if they trade Jaylen Brown and a package of players for Kevin Durant, they're going to win a championship. Can you imagine an upgraded Jaylen Brown with Jason Tatum? Come on. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. That does not make a lot of sense to me. T-Money says, but I agree. I'd rather have KD let Donovan Mitchell rot out in Utah. Yes, please let him rot out here in Utah.
Let him rot out in Utah. Okay.
Let's see. Arel on Israel says, I have great credit, but can't buy a house in New York City. Maybe you can. Twista says, KD needs DM to win. Ainge makes a deal. Kevin can make the Jazz win it all. I don't know what Bostica means. Rant says they get worse with Harden. Could have kept Jared Allen, Dinwiddie, and LeVert. I'm telling you, Jared Allen was a huge mistake by Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Huge mistake. Jared Allen defensively makes that team way better.
Yeah.
Way better. Way better. By the way, Blake Griffin, did I miss it? I don't think he signed yet. He's going to make a nice veteran role player on a really good team.
Yeah.
I think Blake Griffin can still play a little bit. Let's see. Griff181 says KD and Kyrie vouched for Steve Nash. How'd that work out?
Yeah.
Nash, not a good coach, Rant says. But I don't think you have any idea. When you have this group of players, do you have any idea what a guy can really do as a coach?
No.
You don't have control of that. That roster's like a Mustang, a bucking Bronco. You have no control over that. Let's see. Lee P says, burpees give you trauma. Bro, I will never forget, and I can't remember the name of the personal trainer we were with, in Seal Beach. and we had to do as many burpees as we could for 60 seconds.
Spinal.
That was one of the hardest 60 seconds of my entire life.
Back is broken.
Man, that was difficult. Riley O'Brien says, morning casuals, what's up? Riley, appreciate you. Top Junkie says, RL, absolutely 100% correct. Let's see. RL says, New Yorkers didn't want KD. We'd rather beat him. Well, that's
you're
probably
not
true.
going to beat him, though.
That's probably true, though.
Yeah.
You know.